Have you ever wondered why you can't stop binge eating no matter how motivated you are to stop? By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly how your gut keeps you trapped in this binge restrict cycle and what you can do about it. I'm a registered dietitian who specializes in gut health, and I'm gonna share what I know from doing hours of study and research and courses about this topic, and also from my own personal experience from overcoming binge eating as well. I'm literally going to be sharing things with you that I wish I could have told my younger self. By the way, if you want a free tool to help you manage your cravings and your urges to binge eat, like something that walks you through step by step what to do, then you can grab that in the link down below. Most people think that binge eating is all about willpower or maybe even psychology, but what if I told you that there's actually so much more going on beneath the surface that we don't even realize? Did you know that the types of food we binge on can actually damage our gut health? Because when we binge, we typically go for those ultra processed foods. Research shows that when we binge on these ultra processed foods, then it can lead to something called leaky gut. So let me explain what this means by using the help of my iPad. Part of your gut is your intestine, right? And if we think of our intestine as this tube, so this tube is actually made up of all of these tiny cells like over here that are really tightly compact, and they form this protective wall that separates what's inside of your intestine versus what's outside. So this wall really has two main jobs, right? Number one is to allow the food that we eat that passes through our intestine over here to basically get absorbed through the tube and like get into our bloodstream so that we can get the nutrients from our food. And then the second thing is it actually also has to keep harmful substances out of our bloodstreams. What happens when we eat a lot of ultra processed foods or when we have years of chronic dieting and restriction is that we may get poor gut health, and it can start to damage this wall. When you have a healthy gut, this is what your normal, healthy, functioning gut is going to look like. You're gonna have these tightly packed cells which make up the wall of your intestine. All of these cells, right, and you can see they're all tightly packed against each other. Like each one of these little blocks is a cell, and they're all tightly packed so that it allows the food particles to go through, but it also keeps toxins out. So you have your bloodstream over here, and this bloodstream is going to give you access to the rest of your body. So you want the food to go through into your bloodstream so that it can be used as energy for the other organs in your body. All right, and then another thing about somebody who has a healthy gut as well is that you have this protective layer of mucus up here, and this is also gonna help keep the bad like toxins and bad bacteria out of your bloodstream. But what happens when we have poor gut health and when we have an imbalance of bad bacteria, we have more bad bacteria compared to good bacteria, then the bad bacteria can actually start to eat away at this mucus, and you can see over here there's like way less mucus over here. And what happens also is that the cells of your intestine, they get further apart, so they're not so tightly packed anymore, and you can see there's like gaps in between over here. There's gaps in between all of these cells, and it's allowing these toxins to go through. It's allowing these like viruses and bad bacteria to go through, and that is why it's called leaky gut, because it's basically like leaking into your bloodstream. And when these toxins enter into our bloodstream, our body goes like, oh my gosh, what is this? I don't like this. This is not meant to be here, and it triggers inflammation in your body. Why is this so important to understand? When you get inflammation in your body, studies show that this actually increases your appetite, and it can also make us feel more addicted to food. Okay, so it increases our addiction to food by altering the reward center in our brains. and that can even like lead to some element of like low mood or depression in some people. And in my next video, I'll go into this a little bit more. And so you can see how when you have poor gut health and you get inflammation in your body, you get more stress in your body, your appetite gets higher, your addiction and your desire for ultra processed foods get even higher, and it makes it much more difficult to stop binging. You know, your binges gets worse. And so the reason why I'm telling you this though is not because I want you to fear foods even more. Like, that's the last thing that I want to do, because I want you to see that if you are struggling with having self-control around food, then it's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's because there's things going on in your own body, your biology, that is making it much harder for you to stop binge eating. It's not that you don't have enough willpower or self-control. Like, you're literally trying to fight against your own biology, and let me tell you, your biology always wins. The food you eat doesn't just affect the structure of your gut, it also affects what's living in it. So you've probably heard of something called the gut microbiome, but you may not really know exactly what it is. Basically what it is, it's like this ecosystem that contains trillions of different living things, or like different organisms like bacteria, viruses, and fungi living in your gut. And there's some bacteria, I kind of touched on this a little bit, but there's some bacteria that's more beneficial, and then there's other bacteria that can be more harmful in your gut. Alright, so this is something that's really important for you to understand, so pay attention. Your brain and your gut are constantly communicating with each other 24/7. It's like they're on a phone call at all times. Your gut is sending signals to your brain, and your brain is also sending signals to your gut. And they do that through this thing called the gut-brain axis. So you have your brain up there, obviously, in your gut down there, and then in the middle you have something called your gut-brain axis, and this is basically like the landline between your brain and your gut that allows it to communicate with each other. So this is the part that I've not heard anybody talk about, and I guarantee you probably don't know. If you do, let me know in the comments below, because well done to you. But basically, the way that your gut can make you binge more is because when you don't have enough good gut bacteria, so you see these little purple guys over here, they are your gut bacteria. So if you have low levels of your good gut bacteria, what they do is they produce something called short chain fatty acids. Okay, so if you don't have enough good gut bacteria, you also have low levels of short chain fatty acids. And so what these short chain fatty acids do is they produce really, really important signals that go to your brain. All right, so they help with lots of different things, but basically, if you don't have enough of this, research shows that the signals that get sent to your brain is actually that you get more hunger, you get more cravings, you feel more reward when you eat highly processed foods, which only makes you want to eat it more, so it gives you more desire for processed foods. And not only that, but the way it affects your brain is that it makes it more difficult for you to make good decisions, so less good decisions, and also makes it more difficult to regulate your emotions. And obviously both of these things, not just both these things, but all of these things over here, they're all very, very important when it comes to stopping binge eating, right? And I go into this in more detail in my next video as well, so make sure you hit the bell icon if you want to learn about that. And this is why it can be so hard to get out of this binge restrict cycle, because what happens when you don't have the ability to make good decisions and you don't have the ability to regulate your emotions properly, you end up binging on more ultra processed foods that are extremely tasty and extremely addictive, and that causes more dopamine to be released in your brain, so that you end up wanting more of it again and again and again. And the more you eat it, the more you get desensitized to it. Like, the more you eat it, the more dopamine you require in order to feel satisfied from it, you know? So that's what happens when we binge eat on these foods over a long period of time. This is like literally what happens with drug addicts, okay? They get desensitized to like a little amount of a drug that the next time they need more to feel the same level of reward. So over time, we need more and more food to achieve that same feeling of pleasure and comfort. Honestly, as someone who used to binge eat myself, I know just how hard it is to resist these foods. Like, I used to blame myself all the time for not having enough willpower or not having enough self-control, and especially because I was studying to become a dietitian. I was like, you know, what's wrong with me? Like, I should be able to do this. I should be able to be effortlessly healthy and not eat any junk food. But what I didn't know was that my guts and my brain were literally wired to seek these foods more than a normal person, because I literally wasn't producing the same hormones that told my body, I'm full, I'm satisfied, like, let's stop eating. Like, that was completely, it was like a switch that was just turned off, like it just didn't exist. So if you can relate to this, please stop blaming yourself if you ever end up binging or you're not able to control yourself around food, because it's not your fault. You know, once I understood the science behind it, I realized that I was trying so hard to fight against my own body by trying to exert more willpower to not eat these foods, or trying to have more self-control by like forcing myself to get rid of the foods. But the truth is, like, I discovered no matter how much willpower or self-control I had, it was almost impossible to resist these foods, because my natural appetite and craving signals were completely out of balance. And like, you can never fight against your own biology and win, you know? So it wasn't until I stopped trying to blame myself for all of these things and I started to heal my relationship with myself and with food that, okay, I like properly started to nourish my body and naturally became more in tune with my hunger and fullness signals again. And this is totally possible. Like, it's for anybody, okay? Even someone who has been binge eating and dieting for years and years and years, like, it's completely possible to restore your hunger and fullness hormones again. This is where most people go wrong. After a binge, you might tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna be good tomorrow, like I'm going to get back on track, like I'm gonna get rid of all of these processed foods out of my house. You may even like end up throwing everything away, and then you tell yourself like, okay, I'm so motivated, I'm not going to have any of these foods. And then you may start to have like really small portions of food, trying to like regain self-control, or like maybe you're even skipping your meals. But this is where the trap is, okay? Because you think that restricting yourself is like helping you reset your gut or like trying to heal your body, but it actually does the opposite. Like, the more you restrict, the more you're depriving your body of the nutrients that it needs. Like, okay, if you're restricting yourself from these ultra processed foods, like in theory that's going to help, but all that's going to do is going to make you want those foods even more because they're off limits. And when you want those foods even more, then it becomes much harder to resist, right? So the answer is not to just like go cold turkey, throw everything out, and never have any processed foods ever again. Like, that's unsustainable, and there's got to be a more structured way to do it. And that's just one part of the problem, okay? Because the other thing about restricting and dieting is that it can actually make your digestion worse. So our gut, just like any other muscle, is a muscle that needs to be used regularly to maintain its function. Just think, like, when you go to the gym and you are working out and you're, getting bigger biceps, what happens if you end up not going to the gym for months? Obviously, you're going to lose the muscle that you've built, right? This is the same thing with our gut. If we're not using it throughout the day, or we're like dieting, fasting for really long and restricting a lot, then your body's gut is literally losing the function because it's not contracting as often anymore. So basically, if we're not giving ourselves enough food throughout the day, or we're not having regular meals, we're like skipping meals, having like really small amounts, like 3 pieces of cabbage or something, then you're not using the muscle in your gut the way that you're supposed to. So it becomes less efficient at what it's meant to do. And so that's why, like, you might find that if you eat, especially during a binge, like, you can get so incredibly bloated. You may even get stomach pain or stomach cramps, or lots of, other symptoms like reflux, diarrhea, whatever. So you may be wondering, like, okay, Mandy, you're telling me all of this and it sounds like I'm just doomed. Like, what can I do? How do I get out of this cycle? Like, how do I stop binge eating? Okay, let me just say the answer is not just a probiotic or another supplement. Like, okay, probiotics might work, but you're not tackling the root issue of it. I want you to just drill in your head first that, like, restriction is never the answer, like I talked about earlier, because that's only going to make your gut health worse. And so the best thing to do that you can literally start doing right now is to have a regular eating schedule. Like, have 3 meals a day. It doesn't matter what you're eating or how much you're eating, but I mean, try to have something, like a meal, right? And then have 2 to 3 snacks in between your meals, and definitely make one of those snacks after dinner, because that's when it's most likely for us to binge. And so when you plan that snack ahead of time, then you're not setting your brain up for like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to have anything. Like, no, you're already planning to have something, and then that's actually in the long term gonna make it less likely for you to binge. Don't go more than 3 to 4 hours without eating. When you start eating regularly, you're going to start getting your hunger and fullness hormones more in balance again, so that you can start to tune into, like, when am I actually hungry, or like, am I full right now? And doing this will also improve your digestion, improve your gut health, because you're gonna start feeding your gut bacteria the nutrients that it needs. And specifically, like, a bonus, if you really want to optimize this, like, make sure that you're eating fiber, because not only is that gonna help you feel fuller, but it's also going to feed your good gut bacteria. But I will admit, this is just one piece of the puzzle. Like, the real way out of this cycle isn't just about fixing your gut and then everything is going to be fine. Like, you need to be addressing your relationship with your body, your self-esteem, the beliefs that you have about food and weight. When you address these core issues within yourself, then naturally your gut will start to heal as your relationship with food starts to heal as well. If you want to know exactly what to do and how to think when you get an urge to binge, then don't forget to get my free craving tool in the link down below. And if you enjoyed this video, you also want to hit the bell icon, because my next video I'm going to dive into this a little bit more. And then you're definitely going to want to watch my previous video as well, where I tell you why you overeat at night and how to stop. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!